Jai Shri Ram. Canto 74. Taking leave of Janak and Dashrath, Vishwamitra returns to his own hermitage and accepting large wedding presents, Dashrath too turns back to Ayodhya along with his sons and their newly wedded brides. On the way, the irascible and redoubtable Parashuram, a sworn enemy of the Kshatriyas, suddenly appears before them, axe in hand, and Vashishta and other sages accompany the party, offer worship to him. Asking leave of both the kings, the night having passed, the eminent sage Vishwamitra forthwith proceeded direct to the northern mountain, the Himalayas. Asking permission of Janak, who belonged to the line of the Videyas, the ruler of Mithila, the moment Vishwamitra had departed, the glorious King Dashrath too proceeded immediately to his capital. At that time, the ruler of Videha territory gave a rich dowry. As a part of that dowry, the king of Mithila gave away many lakhs of cows and as many first class carpets, numerous silken textiles, and tens of millions of cotton pieces, elephants, horses, chariots, and foot soldiers, 100 richly adorned maids endowed with supernal beauty as companions for his daughters, excellent servants and servant maids, and a lot of silver, gold, pearls, and coral beads. Extremely delighted, the king thus gave an excellent dowry, having given manifold presents and duly taking leave of Dashrath, the ruler of the earth. The king of Mithila returned to Mithila, his own capital, placing ahead all the sages that had accompanied him to Mithila, and accompanied by his army and entourage. King Dashrath, the ruler of Ayodhya, too departed with his highly souled sons for Ayodhya. While the tiger among men was journeying with the host of sages as well as with his 4 sons, the scions of Raghu, fearful birds began to cry all around him. While on the other hand, the deer on the land, one and all, crossed his path from the left. Seeing them, Dashrath, a tiger among kings, respectfully inquired of Vashishta, saying, "Loathsome birds are screaming on the one hand, which is an ominous portent, and at the same time deer cross my path from left, which is a good omen. What may this be which makes my heart quiver? My mind is sorrowful." Hearing this question of King Dashrath, the great seer Vashishta replied in a sweet tone as follows: "Hear what it portends. The indication that comes from the screaming of birds in the air is that of that a grave danger is imminent. These deer, however, allay our fears. Therefore, let this anxiety be given up." While they were conversing thus on the road, a tempest set in, they say, shaking the entire globe and throwing down big trees. The sun got enveloped in darkness. All people failed to discern the directions. Nay, covered all over with dust, the whole of Dashrath's army stood dumbfounded, as it were. At that time, only Vashisht and other sages, as well as the king, including his 4 sons, retained their consciousness. All the rest on that spot became unconscious, as it were. In that dreadful darkness, the aforesaid army of Dashrath, which was actually covered with dust, as well as the king, beheld the terrible looking sage Parashuram, son of Jamdagni, the destroyer of the Kshatriyas, born in the race of Bhrigu, wearing matted locks formed into a coil at the crown, unaccessible as Mount Kailash, irresistible as the destructive fire raging at the time of universal dissolution, blazing as it were with the effulgence, and as such difficult to gaze upon for common men, with an axe on his right shoulder and a bow on his left, and holding his hand a fierce shaft resembling streaks of lightning, like another Lord Shiva, the destroyer of the demon Tripura. Seeing the sage, terrible of aspect and blazing like fire, all the Brahman seers and sages, given to the practice of austerities and homa, offering oblations to the sacred fire, with Vashishta as their head, collected at one place and talked to one another. Let us hope, full of indignation over the assassination of his father, he is not going to exterminate the Kshatriya race over again. Surely it is not his intention to wipe out the Kshatriyas once more, since having massacred the Kshatriyas in the past, he has his anger appeased and has been rid of his agony caused by his father's death. talking in this strain and taking with their hands in their hands water to wash his hands with, the sages accosted the scion of Brigu, who wore a terrible aspect in sweet words, Rama, O Rama. While accepting that honor done by the sages, Vashishta and others, the glorious Parashuram, son of Jandagni, spoke as follows to Sri Ram, the eldest son of Dashrath. Thus ends Canto 74 in the Balakand of the glorious Ramayan of Valmiki, the work of a rishi and the oldest epic. Now, Canto 75. Turning a deaf ear to Dashrath's prayer, Parshuram relates the history of the bows belonging to Lord Shiva and Vishnu and challenges Sri Ram to string the bow of Lord Vishnu in his possessor. O Rama, O valiant son of Dashrath, your prowess is reported to be marvelous, and your feat is in the shape of breaking the bow of Lord Shiva has also been heard of by me in all its details. Breaking the bow in the way you have done is indeed marvelous and cannot even be conceived by others. Hearing of it, I have arrived here taking another sacred bow. Therefore, fitting this great and terrible looking bow received by me from Jamdagni, my father, with an arrow, simply draw it to its full length and demonstrate your might thereby. Having witnessed that strength of yours in drawing this bow too at full length, I shall offer you a single combat which will bring credit to your valor. Hearing that challenge of Parashuram, King Dashrath felt miserable and pulling a long face, forthwith spoke with folded hands as follows. Having given up your anger towards the Kshatriyas, you have since grown very calm, and being a Brahman and a great ascetic too, you ought to give assurance of safety to my juvenile son. Born in the line of Bhargavas, the scion of Brigu, distinguished from their study of the Vedas and sacred vows, you have relinquished the arms given your word of honor in this behalf to Indra. As such, you set your mind on piety and gave away the dominion of the earth to sage Kashyap, and retiring to the woods, took up your abode at Mount Mahendra. For my total annihilation, however, you have appeared here, O great sage, and we shall all cease to live, even if Ram alone is killed by you. Turning a deaf ear to his entreaty, however, even though Dashrath prayed as aforesaid, the glorious Parshuram, son of Jamdagni, continued to address Sri Ram alone and said, These two excellent heavenly bows, one of which was broken by you the other day, the other being with me, strong, powerful, and foremost as they are, were adored by the whole world and were skillfully manufactured by Vishwakarma. One of them, which has been broken by you, O scion of Kakushta, was handed over by the gods to Lord Shiva, the three-eyed divinity, eager to fight with the demon Tripura, and ultimately succeeded in killing him, O jewel among men. This second one, hard to prevail against, was given by the foremost of gods to Lord Vishnu. This which you behold in my hand is the same bow of Lord Vishnu, which is able to reduce the enemy's stronghold, O Ram. It is in fact equal in strength to the bow of Rudra, which has already yielded to your strength, O scion of Kakushta, as will appear from the forthwith anecdote. At that very time, when the demon Tripura was killed by Lord Shiv, all the gods approached and put a question to Brahma, the progenitor of the entire creation, with a view to ascertaining the relative strength and weaknesses of Lord Shiva, whose neck is marked with a blue patch, and Vishnu. Reading the minds of the gods, Brahma, the foremost of the votaries of truth for his part, sowed the seed of discord between the two divinities. As a sequel to that tension, a terrible and thrilling combat actually ensued between Lord Shiva and Vishnu, who were eager to conquer each other. In the course of that combat, of course, the bow of Lord Shiva, possessed as it was of terrible strength, was rendered inoperative, and the three-eyed Lord Mahadev too struck motionless by the very roar of Lord Vishnu. The two foremost divinities came to terms on that occasion only when they were approached and entreated on that very spot by the gods, accompanied by hosts of rishis as well as Karana's celestial bards to compose their differences. Seeing the celebrated bow of Lord Shiva rendered inoperative as aforesaid by the prowess of Lord Vishnu, the gods, along with the host of rishis, assembled there, accounted Lord Vishnu superior to Lord Shiva. Feeling enraged, the most illustrious Lord Rudra, the god of destruction, thereupon delivered the bow together with the arrows into the hands of the royal sage Devarata, born in the line of Videha kings. Lord Vishnu, on the other hand, O Ram, made one of the superb bow of his own, capable of subduing the enemy's stronghold as a Trastu the scion of sage Vrigu. The highly glorious Srika, in his turn, bestowed the heavenly gift on his own son, the high-souled Jamdagni, my father, who was too good to retaliate a wrong and had therefore no use for it. Reckoning my father, who had given up the use of arms and was richly endowed with spiritual energy, earned through his austerities, as a common man, Arjun, more popularly known by the name of Sahasrabahu because of his 1,000 arms, caused his death. Hearing of my father's most cruel and unmerited death, I, for my part, uprooted more than once, as many as 21 times out of indignation, the Kshatriyas, even as they were born. Having acquired dominion over the entire globe, in this way, I gifted it, O Ram, to the high-souled sage Kashyap of meritorious deeds by way of sacrificial fee at the end of a sacrifice, which I performed in atonement for the great bath of blood. Nay, having made the gift, I took up my abode on Mount Mahindra, richly endowed with spiritual energy, earned through austerities in the meantime. However, I expeditiously arrived here from that distant place on hearing the breaking of the bow. Placing above all else the noble duty of a Kshatriya, which consists in accepting the challenge of a warrior to a duel in a righteous cause, O Ram, take in your hand the celebrated and superb bow belonging to Lord Vishnu, inherited by me through my father from my grandfather, and fit the arrow capable of reducing the stronghold of an enemy to this foremost of bows, provided by you are equal to it, O scion of Kakushta. Then alone shall I offer a single combat to you. Thus ends Canto 75 in the Balakand of the glorious Ramayan of Valmiki, the work of a rishi and the oldest epic. Jai Shri Ram.